This is why diversity matters in science. Science is the discovery of truth. Diversity enables us to have multiple perspectives on that endeavor to discover the truth. Without diversity, we limit our perspective and we limit our discovery ultimately. And when I think of diversity, I think of all aspects of diversity: diverse thoughts, diverse people, diverse opinions, diverse perspectives, diverse ecosystems. And I think that we as freshwater ecologists have the best opportunity to reach people through a common ground, but from diverse perspectives, that common ground being water. And I encourage us to think about how water and diversity will sustain people as well as the science of freshwater ecology.
Being part of an inclusive society is important to me because our society needs to reflect the complex identities and backgrounds of not only the scientists in our field, but of the communities that our science serves. And furthermore, if we don't promote diversity, we not only miss out on some innovative ideas and breakthrough research, we also perpetuate the systemic barriers that are holding certain people back from joining our field.
As a PhD student, my research project wasn't really funded by any grants that my advisors had, so I had to write a lot of grants and fellowships myself to fund my research. Sometimes when I'd get the reviews back from those grant applications, I'd get comments like, "This is an unusual applicant," or "We question the dedication of this applicant to a career in science." And it was clear based on the scores that I got on those grants and the fact that they weren't funded that those comments weren't meant in a positive way. And I know that I'm not the greatest scientist ever, and there could be many reasons to reject my grant applications. But when I get comments like that, or when someone else who has a background that's different from the established scientists who may be reviewing these grants gets comments like that, it reinforces the stereotype that there really is a certain background or a certain type of person who should be a scientist. And I strongly disagree with that sentiment. I think that we should open up our science, our society, and our field to everyone. I've worked with a lot of people from a lot of diverse backgrounds who have all strengthened me as a person and as a scientist in many ways. And I know that I wouldn't be here today without all of them. And to think that if somebody of a certain race or a certain identity was excluded from our field or from participating in our society, that would really be a tragedy, in my opinion.
Being a part of an inclusive society is important to me because, for me, being a freshwater scientist is inseparable from being an educator and a supporter of my students. 75% of my students are underrepresented minorities in the sciences. 2/3 of my students are the first in their family to go to college. SFS has been my primary society since I attended the Vancouver meeting in 2004, but this year I'm not attending. I can't justify attending a meeting when people, including my students, are marginalized. When they look at our society, our award winners, the attendees, and they tell me that they can't see themselves as professionals in this field. When people say we just need to focus on the science, it tells me that they don't want to make room in their society for people of color, for people who are queer, for people without the same social capital, for people who have been excluded from our discipline. SFS needs to be committed to fostering excellence in research and foster equity and justice in all the areas that we work. We need more attention towards education and community participation. We need to greatly expand the InSTARS program. We need free admission for local college students. We need to celebrate when more sessions at SFS and pages in Freshwater Science are devoted to outreach and education. Thanks, everyone.
As a member of the LGBT community, I know that it can be difficult to reach out to those we'd like to work with, including potential advisors and collaborators. Because being part of LGBTQ community is such an important part of our identity, it's critical that science as a whole becomes more inclusive so that we can maintain these individuals throughout their undergraduate and graduate careers so that we can have future excellent scientists and educators.
Recent research demonstrates that we all have implicit and unconscious biases that lead us to favor people who look like us, act like us, and have shared life experiences. Now, this is a normal sociological phenomenon, and it does not make us bad people. but it does mean that in order to fight for a more just and equal world, we must acknowledge these biases and actively work to confront them. When I was a kid, I fell in love with science because I wanted to preserve the beauty of the natural world and share that beauty with others. As an adult, I now realize that this beauty extends beyond clear streams and maidenhair ferns and stoneflies, and that biological diversity is more than multivariate ordinations of aquatic invertebrate communities in functional space. I cannot in good conscience argue to preserve natural diversity without also fighting for human diversity. Diverse perspectives make our science richer, but they can only occur in an environment that welcomes, nurtures, and celebrates diversity and inclusion. Fostering diversity doesn't just mean opening doors and being friendly. To truly show a commitment to diversity, we must actively step outside of our comfort zones to bring in diverse perspectives. And this takes work, and time, and money, and more work. And we need to expect our professional societies to help us do that work. I know many scientists, myself included, who would just assume that this issue would go away. But we don't have the luxury of sitting back and waiting for it to go away. It is not going anywhere. So at this meeting, I look forward to joining a conversation with SFS members and leadership on how to work together to move our society from allyship to action. Please join me.
La diversidad de la comunidad científica es importante para mí por su potencial y por todo lo que representa. Diversity is about cultivating talent and promoting inclusion of everybody. It's a pathway for novel ideas, exploration, and great collaborations. And perhaps most importantly, a lack of diversity represents a loss of talent. And we need all the talent we can muster to address challenges facing today's freshwater resources. My daughter, who's now 7, about to turn 8, made and carried this sign behind me in our local March for Science here in Columbus, and it reads Futura Científica, future scientist. Of course, I don't know whether she'll turn out to be a scientist or not, but I firmly believe it's critical to the future of impactful science and SFS. And in the future, everyone has the opportunity for a seat at the table and to contribute. Certainly, this is a goal we could all be proud of. Gracias y nos veremos en Raleigh. Hasta luego.
So when I first started my academic career, it happens that there were many organizations where women weren't very well received. But that wasn't true for NABS. And what I really liked about it was that it was a very welcoming society to everyone. And I think that openness is something which has persisted over the years. One of my favorite things to do at an SFS meeting is to bring together students or colleagues with someone that they have a common interest with, or that may have a question that they'd like to discuss. And invariably, those opportunities bring together a very engaging conversation and are quite rewarding. I think this is the spirit of welcoming and inclusivity which characterizes our group.